Hey everyone, hope everybody is doing well. I am Cyrus Hojani from Strong Towns, Las Vegas, a local conversation group. I've got some good news. Not entirely, but as you know, the city of Las Vegas has brought in its La Madre Foothills plan located near the Centennial Providence neighborhood of the Northwest Valley region. And not to mention, there are proposals to bring light rail along Charleston Boulevard. So there's definitely some brighter news coming around the horizon. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Oh, yeah, they're planning more developments, new zoning in untouched areas on the outskirts. It's probably going to be the same old. And there's some truth to that to a certain extent. However, there's a lot of improvements to be made. I'd like to thank one of the planners of the city of Las Vegas, Marco Velotta, and Deborah Reardon, who I've spoken to before. I've talked about not only my views, but my Strong Towns organization about what we're trying to do. I think it's a great pleasure to work with them. They have certainly listened to many different concerns, brought in a lot of great ideas, and they're finally noticing that the status quo that we've been doing for decades is not working very well. Now, this is not like every other plan that's currently being proposed in a lot of other planned neighborhoods or regions across the Las Vegas Valley. We still have a lot of work to do. However, there's a lot of upsides I wanted to talk to you about this plan. First of all, the plan, which is located along the 215 Beltway in the northwest section of the valley, along Ann Road, Centennial, goes along Schumber. By the way, when I first moved to the Las Vegas Valley, I lived right in that area. And believe it or not, I was thinking, wow, it would be so nice if they could build some mixed use walkable areas around that area. Because even then I was really aware. And finally, they really listened to me, or I guess somebody else, or all of us. Who knows what's going on? But they're having a conservation area to those of you who are concerned about sensitive land, especially the areas around the Red Rock conservation areas. They're putting in a lot of parks that are more pedestrian friendly, especially with the trailheads. There is a lot of mixed use planning that's going on, believe it or not. It makes me think I want to move back to that area. And not just the zoning, I'm talking about mixed use buildings. There's a lot of them where you have live work buildings, some of them 2 to 3, possibly even higher stories, that they're close up to the street. So it seems like they've been able to waive or allow a closer setback to the street. So you don't have that strip mall layout. Now, this is along Schumber Road. I think they're looking to change the name, believe it or not. And it's not just mixed use buildings or zoning. The zoning is done at a different scale. We have mixed housing, so this includes apartment buildings, townhouses, a whole list of other ideas. Not to mention, there is, of course, plenty of detached homes. Now, obviously, I think detached homes will be the majority, but keep in mind, though, this is on the outskirts, so things can change over the course of decades as more infill comes along. But best of all, it's not just the housing, it is the layout. They're not too separate with one another. The garages are not visible in the front. You can see more likely the front porches. The land uses are more closer together. So in 1 acre, for an example, if you look at the surrounding areas, there's mixed housing and mixed uses. And more importantly, this has perhaps been the top issue of planning that we as strong towns have to address, as well as a top issue here living in Las Vegas, is that the Strodes are finally experiencing an alternative. So we don't have to really deal with all these wide roads that kind of mix as a highway and a street into one. Now, I haven't looked at the speed limits, but looking at the street designs, they are significantly a much more improvement. They're generally more pedestrian friendly. You can see that where the width of the street is not so wide and the width is comparable to the height of the buildings. So that means that it creates more of a sense of space. You have more tree-lined streets. You have basically streets that are more interconnected. You're avoiding cul-de-sacs. They're more bikeable. They're more walkable. They have side parking, or perhaps the parking is done in the rear. Many of the designs I have seen have medians, bike lanes, so more of a complete streets layout. There's a greater emphasis on bus use, although the transit, obviously, it's not a lot of people's cup of tea, but it's certainly better for an outskirts area. And more importantly, to reduce the need of stroads, the plan has talked about implementing roundabouts. So it's not just efficient in terms of passing the intersection, and it's not just safer, but it's more attractive to pedestrians. But last but not least, it requires fewer lanes. So one of the reasons why we have these 6-lane stroads or these roads that we take, like Rainbow, Decatur, and so forth, is because the traffic like clogs up the intersection. You need left turn lanes, you need right turn lanes, and so forth. And also the plan has talked about water efficiency, because I know a lot of people are concerned, where's the water going to come from? But these new plans, of course, they make the water use far greater, and each new resident is going to use less water per capita because they're doing more efficient landscaping. The list goes on. Now, of course, I'm not saying that this plan is perfect or very, very good. There's still likely going to be stroads, cul-de-sacs in a few areas based on what I have seen. Some areas are going to be car dependent. However, this is significantly a step forward. Now, this is nothing new. They've been doing similar works like this for 2 decades or so. Providence neighborhood has some mixed use activities not too far away. I think they have like a pizza place and the apartments are really close to it. There's this place called Village of Centennial Springs. I went there several weeks ago. I went on a date and I took her and I showed her the neighborhood, kind of get an idea of what I advocate for. And by the way, she's originally from Chicago. So one of the things she kind of tells me about the flaws of living of Las Vegas is that it's not pedestrian friendly. However, the bottom line is, even though that this is a step forward, we have a lot of work to do. Because remember, there are a lot of plans that's being implemented, perhaps in the city of Las Vegas, but more importantly in Henderson, Northtown, and of course Clark County, because that matters more. Remember, the majority of the residents that live in the Las Vegas Valley live in unincorporated Clark County, and we're still seeing the same status quo being extended, especially in the Southwest Valley. We have a lot of work to do. So what do we need to do? There's a lot of things that we can get to our elected officials. But I want to leave with this point, because I know some of you who are watching this video thinking, not just living here, but even all across the country, think, oh, there's no hope to make things different or change things or build something on the outskirts that's different. People are so glued to their cars. It's Vegas. It's our culture. And some of you on the other side think that Vegas shouldn't even exist. It's just inhumane. Let us just die in the desert. But the reality is that you can have all the hopelessness that you want. I believe that we're one of a kind. I believe that we can innovate. I believe that we can shine and make a lot of new ideas that will impress the entire world. And sure, we have our issues. Sure, we have some corrupt players and not so good apples, especially the people who are running these hotels behind me. And you can see with the drop of the tourism. But there is a lot of room for opportunity. There's a lot of ways that we can make our place a better place to live, not just in existing areas, but of course, even on the outskirts. And of course, I know one of the flaws that people will say, well, Las Vegas lacks mass transit, especially for an area its size. But nevertheless, like I said, there's still plans going forward. They're planning to build a light rail along Charleston Boulevard. It is a step forward. Now, again, there are going to be concerns about what the cost is going to be, whether it's going to get ridership, whether infill development will happen, will it have signal priority, because most likely it's going to be at a grade level light rail system. And you can say, well, light rail is not the best transit system, but still it is a step forward. There's still hope to be done. Look, you guys can be down and depressed, and you guys can give all this negative comments, but people in their bones, they know things are not working. They know that traffic congestion is an issue. They know that it is wrong that you have to be dependent on cars no matter what trip you do, no matter what type of housing you live in. Most of us don't live in large lot housing. They know that there are environmental problems with pollution, urban heat island effect. They know it is an issue when this system is dependent on low energy prices. They know all the negative health outcomes that come with it: obesity, cancer, stress. They know that there's all the rising public and private costs that are associated with it. And by the way, I just heard our gas taxes are about to go up again just a little bit very soon because, again, to maintain this infrastructure, you need a lot of funds to maintain all this car infrastructure. Don't think that gas taxes fund all car infrastructure out here, because even if you don't drive and buy gasoline, you're still paying for it through other means. They know there's a lot of other issues. There's a lack of culture, charm, social activity. People are more isolated than ever before compared to several decades ago. Lack of beauty, the list goes on. They know that this system is very costly and inefficient, public and private. So therefore, we need to do what we can to bring alternatives. And it's certainly very delightful to see that progress is being made, that our voices are getting out there, that people are making a difference. And we need to do what we can to thank these people in charge for bringing this plan forward and see that they can bring a model like this to the rest of the Las Vegas Valley, because it comes with you. You have the ability to meet up, all of us, with elected officials, have meetings, have town halls, or even just yet, link up with other organizations, have maybe a charity, a neighborhood cleanup, something like that, to get our ideas across, to build mutual alliances, or even, heck, talk to other non-governmental organizations that have some level of interest in planning in mind. I have been reaching out to the tiny house organizations. They're having a trade show next month. So that way we can not only reduce the cost of housing, because again, cottage courts really help a lot, but also we can reduce the cost of transportation, because if your cost of housing goes down, but your cost of transportation is higher, well, that really doesn't really seem to look so pleasant, isn't it? It seems kind of odd, if you ask me. So other than that, it's a great pleasure that the city has made a difference. And hopefully, as we expand more federal lands coming forward in the coming decades, we're going to see more growth like that, or heck, even better. And not only that, existing areas, especially areas behind me, they can see some massive renewal and more infill developments to come. So you let me know what you think. Is this a step forward, or do you have some concerns with it? Let me know. Thank you so much.